All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
hmm
Today, we're going to be digging into the Atlantic Coast Life Accumulation Protector plus Fixed Indexed Annuity,
Okay.
or as they call it, the APP.
Catchy.
It's catchy, yeah. And full disclosure, all the info that we're working with today is from Diversified Insurance Brokers.
Yes,
They specialize in annuities, so I feel like they're a pretty good source to get this information from.
definitely.
And yeah, so we're going to take a look at what this thing is, how it works,
hmm
and most importantly, what it could mean for your retirement.
For sure. And it's important
Yeah.
to remember we're not giving financial advice.
Of course.
This is just informational.
Right.
But yeah, I think this will be really helpful for people who are kind of trying to figure out
Absolutely.
what an annuity is and how it works.
So before we dive into like the specifics of
Yeah.
the APP,
Sure.
just real quick, can you give us the rundown on annuities in general?
Okay, so in a nutshell, an annuity is like a contract
Okay.
with an insurance company. You put some money in, it grows over time, and then later you can get that money back as a stream of income.
Nice.
It's kind of like building your own personal pension in a way.
I like that.
Yeah.
A personal pension.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So the APP talks about all these benefits. Yeah, they're talking about guaranteed growth. They're talking about protection from market downturns.
Right.
How does that work in an annuity?
Well, they highlight the fact that it grows tax-deferred,
Okay.
meaning you don't pay taxes on that money until you withdraw it,
Okay.
which can be a big benefit, especially if you're in a high tax bracket.
Right.
They also talk about how it offers a certain level of stability over the long term,
Mm-hmm.
but how stable it actually depends on,
Okay.
how the annuity is structured and the specific guarantees it offers.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
So right off the bat, one of the big things they're promoting is this 10% premium bonus.
Yeah, that definitely catches your eye.
Yeah, I mean, 10% extra right when you put the money in sounds great.
Right, but there's usually a reason why they're offering that.
Okay.
It's not free money.
Right?
So it's important to look into what the trade-offs are.
I see. So what are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one of the things to be aware of is surrender charges.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to access your money before a certain period of time, you might have to pay a penalty.
Gotcha. So like if you need the money in an emergency,
Exactly.
you might not be able to get the full amount right away.
Yeah, it's not as liquid as, say, keeping your money in a savings account.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind.
definitely.
Now let's talk about growth potential because this annuity is linked to market indexes,
Right.
which I feel like is a concept that a lot of people don't really understand.
It can be confusing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same as directly investing in stocks.
Okay.
So this annuity specifically offers a few different index options that you can choose from.
Like what are some examples?
Well, they've got things like the Momentum Index, the
Mhm.
ESG Macro 5 Index,
Oh, yeah.
and of course the S&P 500, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yeah.
That tracks the performance of 500 of the largest companies in the U.S.
So is my money actually going into the stock market?
Not directly, your growth is linked to how those indexes perform,
Okay,
but there are usually some limits involved.
I see. And what are some of those limits?
Okay, so you'll often see something called a participation rate and a cap.
Okay.
Let's say you choose an index option with an 80% participation rate and a 6% cap.
Hmm.
What that means is you'll participate in 80% of any gains that index experiences,
Okay.
but the cap limits your potential gains.
Oh.
So even if the index goes up 10% in a year, your gain will be capped at 6%.
So even if it does better.
Right, you're essentially giving up some of the upside potential.
I see.
But on the flip side, you're also protected from the downside.
Okay, so it's like a trade-off.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's something else to keep in mind when you're choosing an index.
Definitely, because each index is going to have its own set of caps and participation rates.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing that stood out to me was the fact that the APP offers a lot of customization options.
Mhm.
Like you can choose different crediting periods, and you've got some flexibility with withdrawals.
Yeah. They want to give you some control over how your money is managed.
Okay.
So with the crediting periods, you can choose how often your gains are calculated.
And what are the options for that?
They offer 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years.
Okay.
And in terms of withdrawals, they allow you to take out up to 10% of your account value each year without penalty after the first year.
Well, that's good to know. Because I think a lot of people assume annuities are completely locked up.
Right, they can be, but the APP does offer some accessibility if you need it.
I see. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Now, they also mention these things called the nursing home and terminal illness waivers.
Mm-hmm.
Are those standard with annuities?
They're becoming more common, especially with annuities that are geared towards retirement.
Hmm.
Essentially, they're designed to give you access to your money without penalty.
Okay.
In specific situations, like if you need long-term care or if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness,
That's good to know.
yeah, they can provide some peace of mind.
Absolutely. So it's kind of like a safety net built in.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but there are a couple more things I want to touch on.
Sure.
One is the death benefit associated with the APP.
Yeah. So with this annuity, your beneficiaries typically receive the full accumulated value
Okay.
if something happens to you.
So that means they don't have to pay any of those surrender charges.
Exactly. It can be a significant benefit for your loved ones.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And finally, we need to talk about annuitization.
Right. So annuitization is basically the process of converting your savings into a stream of regular income payments.
Okay.
And with the APP, you have some options in terms of how those payments are structured.
I see.
You can choose to receive payments for a certain period of time for your lifetime, or even with a survivor benefit for your spouse.
So it's kind of like choosing how you want your pension to be paid out.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
The Atlantic Coast Life Accumulation Protector Plus Fixed Index Annuity.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. It's the APP.
Yeah,
It's got some really appealing features.
it does.
But like any financial product,
Yeah.
It's got its complexities, it's got its potential downsides.
You always have to look at the fine print
Right.
and consider your own individual situation.
Absolutely. So what we've done here is we've given you a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to take this information, do your own research,
Yeah,
talk to a qualified financial advisor,
definitely.
and decide if the APP, or really any annuity for that matter, is right for you.
And as you're doing your research, think about what's most important to you in retirement.
That's a good point.
Is it guaranteed income growth, potential flexibility, or something else entirely?
Right. Having clear priorities will help you make the best decision for your future. Great advice as always. Well, I think that's going to do it for us today.
Sounds good.
We'll see you next time
See ya.
for another deep dive.